There's going to be a painting of Markl from Howl's Moving Castle. I'm using 3-ply Strathmore plate finish paper or board. You don't have to do this. What I'm doing right now, I'm wetting the paper on both sides. But I just want to see what would happen. And if you do it this way, you don't get a lot of, hard edges. So even though I want to have some textures in the back, it's not going to be too difficult to pick it up later because this paper is so thick. You could, it's very forgiving, so you can lift up the paint or the colors as you're painting. So it's a different way of working with watercolors. I learned this method from Erwin Greenberg, who was my watercolor teacher. If you look up the work of Greenberg or the watercolor work of David Levine, the caricature artist, they use a similar technique. And I like painting this way. Not all the time, but a lot of times with watercolor because it gives you a lot of room for experimenting. Like what I'm doing with the background right now, I wasn't sure if I wanted it to be flat or more textured. So I was just going back and forth between like a big squirrel hair brush and just building up some textures. So right now I'm gonna lay down some flat colors, and eventually I'm gonna pick it back up and try to build the forms that way. So it's almost sculptural. And if you've seen the cartoon, Markl has very bright green clothes, vests and shorts. And I'm speeding up the footage about 400%. The actual painting didn't take, probably an hour, 2. The drawing was just, I took just a blue pencil and scribbled something and traced it onto this board. I'm using gouache to mix that color. It's mostly, I think it's Viridian, Indian yellow, and some of the background cerulean blue. I don't remember what brand this is. It's probably Winsor Newton. Again, I'm laying out all the flat colors with the intent of picking them up later on. So this is the middle blue. After that, I'm gonna mix something darker to put in the shadows. I've decided that the highlight or the light source is going to be on the left side. I mean, it's great because there's not many colors on Markl, so I could reuse the same colors over and over again. That is cadmium orange. I like this brush I'm using. I bought a set and it was a sale. I don't remember how much it cost, but it wasn't too bad. But you could get some nice fine lines. This is about the most careful I am in this entire painting, just to stay inside the lines. And I didn't do a great job staying inside the lines, but like I said, this paper is really forgiving. So I can lift it back up. I kind of like how it looked. It's this orange. So I don't think I went over it too much. I added a little bit of shadow in the back, but I kept the color pretty much the same. It was so bright, just to go with the bow tie. A friend of mine thought he looked like Bilbo. Kind of does. I might do another version where he puts on the disguise, the old man disguise. So here I'm putting in more shadows for the pants, stocking, legging. It looked better darker, so I went a little darker. I didn't really need to put that detail because I was going to pick it back up again. This is the next camera view. So here is a cheap brush where I'm going to use to pick up the color. You could see it's a lot lighter. And you could do this as long as your brush is nice and wet, not too wet. You could lift up almost to the white of the paper. The flesh color isn't. Watercolors dry a little bit lighter than you put on the paper. But with this method, it doesn't really matter because you're going to pick it up anyway. So it's going to be even lighter than what I'm putting on right now. I'm trying to stay away from the eyes because I want to keep the white of the eyes as bright as possible. That's about the only planning I did. Everything else was pretty experimental, or a la prima. So I'm putting in the shadows over here, and probably 60-70% of this is going to be lifted up. So you're going to get a hint of that color. It's not going to be as dark. It's not going to be orange. It'll be close. And the cheap brush makes another comeback. Usually, to do the lifting, I like a stiffer brush that doesn't have that bounce that the natural hairs do. So I think this brush was like 50 cents or something. Came in that pack. As opposed to this, which was like $20. No, not $20. It's probably like $40. They don't make these anymore, do they? Sable brushes. There was like a shortage. Alright, back to Markl. See, I'm just laying down that color. That red is not going to be there. It looks crazy if I left it on there. But I waited for that to dry a little bit and then just move it around to give it a little tint of red around the cheeks. And this is another cool brush, really cheap. It came as part of a watercolor set I bought a long time ago from Grumbacher, transparent watercolors. And it's kept its point. Just re-establishing the drawing underneath. It's not really necessary, but I just want to know where everything's going to be before I erase it again. So I'm going to put some water over it to smooth out the edges because I don't want too many hard edges on this painting. It's still an illustration, so it doesn't need to look too realistic. Probably went a little dark under the eyes. Adding some colors on the lip. So here I'm going to start blending in the edges. You could do this a lot without wrecking the surface of the paper. And towards the end, I would either go over it with a color pencil, like a Prismacolor, something with a lot of pigment, or I would just, fix it up digitally if I don't care about the original. That is Indian yellow. I'm gonna have to fix some of the edges there, it's a little hard. But my intent was to just finish it off digitally. Just lay out all the colors and everything. But because I still have the painting, the physical painting, I could always go over it. I could still paint over it and get it to look how I want. Back to the face. Just putting in little details. Not too much color mixing. Most of the mixing is done on the painting and not on the palette. And mixing off screen, very useful, I know. Just putting in some shadows on his purse. It's really satisfying. I don't know if you've ever painted that way, but the blue, the pigment in the blue breaks up when it dries. I don't know what it's called, but I like how that looks. It's very glassy, like stained glass. Just cleaning up the edges right now with the ultramarine blue. The Grumbacher brush again. Back to the eyes. I like to jump around when I paint just to keep it fresh, so I don't focus on one spot too long. But I think I'm almost done. Just continuing to, you start off with a bigger brush and you go smaller and smaller and smaller until the end. It's like with the watercolor pencils I'm going to use after this. Just going to keep sharpening the tip. And here is the final painting. And I think it looks alright. Look at Markl. Looks like a hobbit. Like and subscribe. And I'm going to try to post more of these. Well, thanks for watching.